Hello and welcome to IPTC Insights. My name is Hisham Zubari and I am delighted to be joining you for this conversation with Sherif Foda, the Chairman and CEO of NESR. Sherif has 25 years of industry experience. Happy to have you with us today, Sherif.
Thank you, Hisham.
The IPTC team wisely picked a highly relevant topic for the event. As you have seen, fueling global recovery through sustainable energy. And you, Sharif, will be on an important executive plenary session titled Towards Profitable and Sustainable Future. We would like with this short meeting to get your views on challenges the industry is going to face in the next few decades and what would it take to thrive and achieve profitability in a sustainable manner. The IPTC returns to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the beautiful city of Riyadh this February, and you will be one of the returning delegates and distinguished speakers. I would like to know, Sharif, what excites you most about this year's topic, and what discussion do you look most forward to in the event?
Thank you, Hisham, and thanks for having me. And it's really an honor to be here, and it's such a pleasure to return to the IPTC. And as you said, this year the venue, new venue is in Riyadh, which is the kingdom, the capital of the energy of the world. And it cannot be any better timing actually to have that venue and that place where all the discussion is happening worldwide about climate change, about sustainability, the sector itself, and really we need to collaborate between policymaker, industry, IOC, NOC, service sector, and all together we can make that happen. But really the venue and the time cannot get any better than that.
Yeah. Sharif, we know the industry is going through tough challenges coming up, especially with the climate issues. There are calls to achieve net zero by 2050. We're talking about decarbonizing economies that are fossil fuel based. I'd like, before we start a little bit deeper into this topic, I would like to get your vision on how you visualize the energy landscape in 2050 in terms of an energy mix. What would be the role of fossil fuels? So if we jump 30 years ahead from today, how do you see the role of fossil fuels compared to other energy sources?
So obviously, a lot of theories out there, right? And I think that the key point would be the speed of development of alternative energy into the mix. So if I would make a guess, I would say that the coal will definitely wind down significantly from the mix, especially after 2030 when China and India actually stop erecting new coal plant. And then depending on the speed of the batteries and how people will take that, the acceptance as well of the minerals, the cobalt and lithium, etc. You need some real innovation in there, and the hydrogen, and then you will see the mix. If I would make a guess, I would tell you the fossil fuel will play not less than 50% in that mix. And people as well always underestimate the increase of demand in the developing world, because I think the demand is dropping on the developed world, but it's going to increase dramatically in the developing world. So anyway, if I would say a mix overall, given the technology adoption enhanced significantly, still the fossil fuel will be 50% at least.
Great. I tend to agree with that view, Sharif. We'll talk about if we have 50% fossil fuel, that would need a lot of investment and financial support from banks to carry out projects. A recent documentary was published recently, and it shows that The fossil fuel has enjoyed close to over $100 billion in terms of financial supports and loans from major multilaterals and government-owned financial institutions the last 13 years. This relationship between banks and fossil fuels has been suffering lately because of the calls for decarbonizing economies. The relation is being compromised. Uh, how the oil industry is going to overcome this hurdle with banks, kind of shying away from investing in fossil fuels, if it happens at all, of course.
So, a very, very good point, Hisham. And I think people recently realized the fact that the North America discipline in spending, despite the oil price becoming to the 80, 85, is due mainly to the financing and obviously the climate and ESG, um, if you like, pressure on the shareholders. So, two things here. People have to remember there is the capital today is available in the market is $400 trillion, and S&P 500 energy spend is only 2%, which tells you that it is a problem. And I think we are blessed in our region in the Middle East that the majority of the spend is done by the national oil company. However, I would tell you that the IOCs and a lot of the public company will have a problem because the banks will not be easy to finance new project, new investment. You might get some current investment to put in it, to add to it, but if it's very difficult to sanction a new project. And again, back to the same point, the solution for the climate is not to move from a public capital to a private capital because that's not help the climate. The sustainability here is how we work all together to reduce and decarbonize and reduce our carbon footprint. But definitely it's an issue. And I think this is why you will see the oil price or the energy price is going to keep climbing because of the lack of investment that is going to even get worse in the years to come.
Okay, Sharif, while you bring a lot of good points here. When you say oil price is going to be on the rise, would that harm the oil industry or will that benefit the oil industry?
I think for the short term it benefits, but for the long term it does harm because a very high oil price will accelerate, obviously, people moving out of the oil, and I think as well the issue becomes the demand. People will start to curb because of it, right? The issue is the perception is a problem, and that is the main obstacle for the industry is that how we are perceived in the public that we are not doing enough for the sustainability. And I think the banks, the financing, all the stuff, back to the point, will have an issue because the public has a problem.
Again, you bring a very important point on perception. Public perception will be key for our industry. Somehow, our image, the fossil fuel industry image, needs to be handled properly. We just heard about Exxon latest announcement of their vowing to reach net zero by 2050, and many other companies have already done that. How do you think? What do you think, in your views, Sharif, would be the topmost implications of energy transition on the fuel industry or on the companies in general? Talking about IOCs and OCs, and I would like also to hear from you on the impact on the service sector, in particular, of which you're working in. So, in other words, what will change tomorrow in terms of operations as compared to yesterday?
So if I would say, if I start with the perception, right? I think our industry overall, we are doing a lot, but we are not articulating what we are doing to the public. And that is a big story. The public, a lot of people, especially in the, I would say, in the in the US or North America and Europe, obviously, have a problem that are we doing enough or not? And that's something would be our biggest challenge to ensure that we change that image, we change that perception, and that will change the financing, people acceptance, new project, etc. The other part is the energy transition. People have to understand that this is transition means a time. It's not, I'm not going to switch on today and switch off tomorrow. I think
True.
one of the big part that helped the story a bit now is that the gas is more and more accepted as part of the transition fuel. So that's already a positive towards that goal. And what we have to do as a sector for between IOC, NOC, and service sector is definitely, as I said, to change that perception, to show what we're doing, and to sanction project based on that part of the cost of doing business is we need to lower the carbon footprint, and the service sector need to enable those technology and provide those technology to the NOC and the IOC to show that we have the tools and the means to make that happen. How can we get economical footprint and economical operation that has lower carbon footprint? What technology do we have? And today there is a lot of innovation, but it needs to be put into motion and into project, and those projects have to be significantly visible to the public.
True. Actually, you bring again, Sharif, a very highly relevant point, which is we see already some companies are ahead of others in terms of diversifying. Some IOCs have already jumped into the renewables, building solar panels and attaching their fossil fuel projects with renewable projects to offset their carbon footprint. My question to you, Sharif, on the service sector, how are you going to, or what do you see as opportunities given the challenges? How do you see the opportunities? Will the companies, the oil companies, IOCs, will they expand in their business when they start to accommodate energy transition tools? Say for example, hydrogen. You have carbon capture. You have underground storage. Geothermal. Do you see them expanding and taking advantage of those challenges and transforming them into opportunities? Or is that going to be handled by, differently by the fossil fuel sectors? Is there a sort of a pushback from the oil sectors or the hydrocarbon sector in terms of adopting or accepting energy transition as part of their day-to-day business?
Look, as I said, the sector itself, let's take now the service sector. The service sector role is to make sure that they provide enabling technology to make the energy sector, the oil and gas, less carbon footprint. I think that's the low-hanging fruit, as I keep saying. People always talk about the transition. I'm going to do solar, I'm going to do wind farms, etc. Yeah, that's part of your portfolio. But your main portfolio, your bread and butter, you need to make sure that this has lower carbon footprint. In addition to that, look at the opportunities of carbon, for example, capture and storage. Who has better knowledge in the world of the subsurface than the energy sector, the oil and gas sector? Nobody. We know where are the depleted zone. We know how to inject the CO2. So it's not only you are decarbonizing your own sector, you are decarbonizing the industry, the construction industry, the cement industry, the steel industry, the plastic. All this, you actually can play a big role in injecting that CO2. So actually, this is going to be a big business. I mean, people, if they look at Tesla today, the main profit they make is carbon credit. That's where actually they make their profit. So you can actually become, the opportunity here is to make that a big story and a part of the mix of your credit, because this is going to be part of doing business. you're going to start to trade CO2, and you are going to see how you're going to trade off what you do. And the industry can do that. So the sector has a lot of the knowledge that they can do. And actually, they can provide as well some minerals to other industry. And then obviously the NOC and IOC, as you see, each one of them have a very clear direction where they want to be. Some, they, as you said, they are diversifying in having maybe 30% of their mix will be oil and gas, and the rest will be renewable and other sources, and some other on hydrogen. Again, the infrastructure of the gas is essential part to make hydrogen relevant. Either you go to blue or to green.
Yeah, yeah. Sherif, let me change direction here. I would like to hear what your advice for students who haven't decided which career to take, and those who might be hesitant of joining the fossil fuel industry, and to young professionals who have just joined the industry. What would your advice be for this group of people?
I would say the industry has at least 30 years of life for the pessimistic people. I think it's more, but let's say the pessimistic people have, you still have a long life for it. And as I said, I would give them an advice that the innovation that is coming in the next 2 decades will be the innovation of decarbonizing the industry and decarbonizing all sector of the industry. I think that will be the next big thing, not really the next Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I think this will be the biggest market, is to understand and decarbonize that the economy. So there is a lot of work, there is a lot of innovation, and all, as I said, all the hydrogen and all the stuff, people needs to learn that to be able to jump to the other part. So with the perception, then people will be able to attract talent, and you will be able to attract talent from top university like we used to do in the past.
Excellent. And so before we conclude, Sharif, I would like to get again also your opinion on professional societies like SPE. SPE has managed over the last several decades of bringing the industry together, compiling knowledge, disseminating knowledge, sharing knowledge, and it has done a great job. The fact that we're all here sitting and talking, through this SPE connections. I would like to see your views on the future. How do you see societies like SPE, AAPG, EAGE, SEG? What will be the role of these societies uh, for during this energy transition? Like to see your views on that, Sharif, before we conclude.
Thank you, Sham. Personally, I think they should play a stronger role into the outside world. Uh, they are, I think the SPE and all the organization are phenomenal in our sector. We understand it, we believe it, we appreciate it, and I think there is a lot of knowledge, there is a lot of know-how, there is a lot of technology advancement, but needs to be known more and visible to the outside world, and they can definitely play a role as the energy transition to understand how they can become an energy society as well, not just oil and gas, because again, we have a lot of knowledge that we can capitalize on it on other sectors, especially during the energy transition period. Seismic and all the exploration, it's phenomenal if people in the outside world understand what we do, right? So there is a lot of things that we can do again for the decarbonizing the economy, and I think this could be a very nice sector for the organization.
Excellent. Sharif, unfortunately, this is all we have for today in terms of time. So I would like to thank you for sharing your insights with us. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we look forward to hearing more from you during the IPTC 2022. Your session have a great title, which will attract a lot of attention Would you like to say a final word, Sherif, before we
No,
conclude?
thank you so much, Hisham. We are again very excited. I invite everybody to actually join us in the IPTC. They will see the top leaders of the industry. They will see the top policymaker, ministers, the top CEOs, and it cannot be any better to be again in the venue of the capital of the world in Riyadh, and see all these people. So I look forward to see a lot of people in IPTC and interact with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So in conclusion, I would like to again thank Sharif and the organizers of this chat. And I look forward to seeing you all in 2022 edition of the International Petroleum Technology Conference, the IPTC, in the beautiful city of Riyadh, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, from 21st to 23rd of February. Thank you all.